Hello, gorgeous heartbeat, and welcome to Heartbeats Harbor. I'm your host, Brianna Hozak, and I'm here to shine the light on the shadow path we walk as heartbeat women. Women rising into leadership roles as light workers, change makers, world shakers, or as I call us, heartbeats, do not have an easy path to walk. It often feels lonely, painful, and unique, but I'm here to help you see how very not alone you are, and how beautiful the shadows surrounding you actually are when you love and integrate them on your healing journey. I create spaces and opportunities for women to step into deeper self-awareness, self-acceptance, and personal healing, community and sacred circles, as well as leadership of themselves, their families, their communities, and beyond. My business and my life is and always will be about massive change in the ways things are done around the world. I believe it's a big part of my purpose on this planet to be a voice for those who don't have one, a safe harbor for those who need one, and a beacon of light to inspire a better way. None of this is easy. I've learned that big impact requires bold action and delusional levels of confidence, as well as a ton of shadow work. If you love what you hear on this podcast and you want to be part of the growing, supportive online village of Heartbeats Harbor, make sure you join my Facebook group, which is linked below in the show notes. Now, I can't wait to get started, so let's turn on the lights. Hello, everybody. We are talking today with the gorgeous Christy Holt, who is a dear friend. We've known each other now in the online capacity for a couple of years. I was on her podcast, literally, I think it was almost 2 years ago. And then this last year, we have been part of a local entrepreneur group together. We have been meeting in person lots of months. I wasn't able to go to all of them live, but we've actually been able to meet in person several times, and I just absolutely adore her. So I'm really excited to have her on my podcast finally. This has been planned for a long time. And yeah, I'm just really excited to talk to her today. So Christy is a self-proclaimed happiness hussy, an adventure guide or mentor, a podcast host. Her podcast is called Create Your Happy, and an international best-selling author on a mission to spread happiness around the planet. Christy is a mentor for whole-ass humans. Using her signature CREATE method, she adventures alongside of her heart-led clients to support and love them as they discover and unlearn. Christy's mentorship helps her clients to create the life, love, and legacy that make them truly fucking happy. So welcome, Christy.
Woo! First of all, I want to say the feeling is mutual. I am super excited to be here, and I am so grateful that I randomly invited you to join that mastermind over a year ago, and that we have been able to build not just an online relationship, but a real life, in person, tangibly hug each other kind of relationship, and I absolutely love it.
Same. It is so different having people in real life who get you. It really, really is.
Right? Yes, exactly.
So we're going to talk today about life, love, and legacy. And I want to know, like, obviously all of these three things are important, but what the hell do they have to do with one another? Because I hear you talk about it, and I'm sure that lots of people in my world see and hear you talk as well. And I would love to dive into that with you.
Yeah, I mean, first glance, maybe they seem like they're sort of not as connected as I believe that they really are. And the root comes back to our happiness. So essentially, everything in our experience is impacted directly by the relationship that we have with ourselves. So everything that we experience in the external world is essentially a relationship. I mean, think about it. If you were the only person on the planet right now, how would you know who you were? What would you know about yourself? Very little, right? So this is all a lot of gathering information from relationships. And not only this, but how we feel about ourselves is actually mirrored in the world, in the way that we experience other people, the way we experience and interact with money, with food, with social media, with the government, and everything basically in our experience, not the other way around. I mean, a lot of people do think that our external experiences impact our ability to be happy. But in truth, it's actually the relationship with yourself that helps you to create the happiness, which is an inside job. And because happiness is the cause, not the effect, your happiness will be reflected in the quality of the relationships that you have in the world. I often say, when you think you have a relationship problem, it's not a relationship problem. The truth is you have an identity problem. And so the way that this plays out is you will experience challenges in your external world, believing that the challenge is external to you. The truth is the challenge is actually within you. It's your perspectives, your past experiences and traumas playing in, and your understanding of your place in the world, right? Which can only be
Yeah.
determined by those relationships with everything else in the world. So,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah. So, of course, that impacts your life, your relationships, your love, and the legacy that you're going to leave, right? Because this is all stemming from this inside job. Happiness is your intended state. And so that's where I tend to focus.
That's incredible. And so true. And we hear this a lot, that other people's, or what we experience with other people, is actually a reflection of what's going on inside of ourselves. But I've never really connected it to how what's going on inside of me is not only affecting my life and the love I feel for others in relationships. Those two, I think, come, like, they make more sense to my brain a little bit more naturally. But the legacy piece is a little bit mind-blowing for me. Like, my internal state is what is going to create that legacy. That is really powerful.
Yeah.
um and makes it kind of freaking important to focus on. Right? Like,
You can't see us being like waving wildly that this is so important, but we
yeah.
are.
Yeah, you can't see us, but we're like, hello.
Yeah.
So I love that. So what are a couple of your top tips for improving our relationship with ourselves, since it's so important, especially for busy women entrepreneurs who are, I think, both of our ideal audience listeners, right? And many of those women have kids, and they may be single moms, or they may be just really busy moms, whatever, but they are running solo businesses, they've got their kids, all the distractions, everything going on in their lives. So how do you prioritize that? What specific things can the listeners do, especially in a shorter period of time, quickly, for those that have very little time?
Yeah. I mean, girl, me too. I got 4 teenage boys in this household, so I know what it is like to be busy. And of course, you
Yeah.
also mentioned in the intro that I'm a podcast host and an author. And so I have, well, there's just an awful lot of balls, right?
Yep.
Balls in the air and just balls all around because boys. But let's focus on what you can do to start shifting things right now, right here, because my first tip is actually around coming into the here and now. It is to come into
Mhm.
conscious presence. This right here now moment is your point of power. Okay. And this can be done in a multitude of different ways: meditation, breath work, spending time in nature. There's honestly like a laundry list of modalities, and they're all
Yeah.
equally valid for different people, right? Different things, different strokes for different folks, as they say.
Yeah.
And so I actually, in my first book, Unstuck for Women, I talk about a lot of these potential modalities as simple pathways to becoming present. Because it's only when we come into this now moment that we actually have the power to consciously choose. If we're off in the past or worried about the future, we are not actually here in the present facing what is before us. And so coming into the present moment actually just allows us to be with what is, and then
Yeah.
choose how we want to respond. This is the shift from survival mode reaction,
Putting out
autopilot.
fires. Yeah.
Yeah, autopilot kind of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn responses, and into who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? How do I want to respond to this? What is my next best course of action?
And I
So,
have to say, like, I read your first book, and it is a really, really good starting point for anyone
yeah,
who is trying to start taking care of themselves, who wants
yeah,
to explore all, like you said, there's this laundry list of modalities that you can
yeah,
choose from. And everybody has different things that work for them. And that book is so, like, it's very thorough in
yeah.
covering all of these different options. I think it was really, really excellent for that. So highly
Oh,
recommend. And we'll
thank you.
definitely drop the link for that in the show notes,
I
because I
appreciate
think
that.
everybody should read it.
Yeah, it is a great starting point. And it's such a great starting point because it's what helps you to become present in the now moment. And
Yeah.
this now moment is the only time and place where your true nature can actually be discovered. Okay. Because you can't create happiness in the future. If you're
Mm.
waiting, you're going to be waiting, right? You need to be able to learn how to create it here and now. That's all we have. We don't, in the future, it becomes here and now too. So if we can master this, true intended state of being of happiness in, you know what? I speak about happiness, but maybe bliss or peace or joy or uh, love, whatever word really resonates for you, feel free to sub that in, because ultimately it's just about you living in your highest state of being, whatever that looks and feels like for you. And also we'll note here
what's your
too,
goal? What do you want?
there's always another level too, right? So
yeah.
we'll just say that ever expanding happiness, love, peace, joy, whatever, freedom, whatever,
Well, and I
word.
think that we prep for the future by living in the present,
Yes.
right? Where you're not going to be happy in the future if you refuse to be happy right now because you're just too busy thinking about what's going to happen later or what already happened before. So I love that. I think that's, yeah.
I mean, you really just, it's your point of power, right? It is the most powerful space that you can be in, to be here and now and focused on intentionally, consciously creating the experience that you want, because no one else is going to come along and do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've been waiting for external circumstances, the stars to align, your partner to change, blah, blah, blah.
Knight in shining armor. Yeah.
You are going to be waiting a long time. Listen, I realized after a long time in my marriage, there was no knight in shining armor coming to save me. I had to save my damn self. And it was 1,000% worth it. Now you asked for
and
2
I
tips.
have to totally agree on that one because
yeah.
same girl, same.
It was the best decision and the hardest decision I've ever made. But moving along to the second piece of this, excuse me. The second tip for me is to, while you're in that state of presence, to listen to yourself, to trust your inner wisdom, to trust that voice within. And now a lot of people be like, I got a lot of voices in there, Christy. I know, girl, me too. There are so many in there. Sometimes it gets so confusing. Like, which fucking one am I supposed to listen to? Because it can feel really loud and really paradoxical in there. There can be voices on both sides of the same thing. My trick for discernment is very simple. It is to ask the question of whether that voice is coming from a place of love, of expansion, of moving into a next level, freedom, peace, love, joy, happiness, or is it coming from a place of fear, worry, anxiety, restriction, constriction, and staying safe and small? And so we can expand in a way that can feel safe. We don't have to go, jump off an airplane. We can take baby steps. We can maybe try, I don't know. I like to joke. Actually, when I was going to summer camp with my friend way back as a teenager, we had this whole, this crazy, silly idea just totally popped into my mind right now. Instead of jumping off of high things, we would like literally jump off like the deck of the cabin, which was like 2 feet. And we were, right? So this vision came to me about we're jumping, right? We're jumping, but we're keeping it safe. And actually I was part of a panel just yesterday morning, and one of the other panelists said the phrase, doing dangerous things safely. And that really stuck out to everyone on the panel, because we're like, hell yes. Like, dangerous things don't always have to be unsafe. We can find ways to do them that feel safe to us and that are a little bit safer.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I talk about leaping all the time, but I love that because what I do is I help people to feel safe before they take that leap. Yeah. So it's totally the same thing. It's that feeling of like, okay, yes, it's big. It's freaking scary, but I have this ultimate self-trust that I can land on the other side of that jump.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, we can take the jump in smaller steps too. It doesn't have to be this giant, like next to impossible leap. It can be 2 feet off the deck. I love that. I love that example. That is so cute.
Yeah. It's funny that popped into my mind. Like that was like literally 30 years ago. So thank you, universe, for just replanting that seed.
I love it.
So fun.
I love it. So okay, so if the women listening to this are taking these actions, they're getting really present, and then they're asking themselves, like, where is this voice inside of me coming from? Is this something that I'm scared and I'm trying to make excuses? And that's what I would call like
your ego mind, your monkey mind,
Yeah.
right? You're really your RAS that tries to protect you from change, right?
I
All
call
of
it
it.
the asshole mind in my book.
Good. Yes.
Yeah. It
So
loves you though. It does love you.
it does. It's trying to protect you. And
Yeah,
there's exactly. And sometimes that is really needed, right? And it's there for a reason. It's something that we've evolved to.
yeah,
My brain didn't want to work there, but we've evolved to have that for a reason. It kept us safe.
for sure. Yeah.
And but it also keeps us from expanding and from growing. So okay, so if they're being present, if they're tuning in and really getting present to like, where is this intuition of mine, this inner voice of mine coming from, and they're doing these things, what specifically are they going to get out of that? Like, what is that going to do as far as their relationship with themselves goes, I guess, is
Yeah.
what
I
I'm trying to
mean,
get.
everything that they've ever dreamt of and then some, right? Because ultimately, this is shifting things inside, which, as we spoke about earlier, this inside piece is the cause, not the effect. And so when we get things right for ourselves, and I don't mean right or wrong, I mean
Yeah.
aligned,
Yeah.
correct, for us, not for anyone else, which means we're being authentic. We're being in integrity with ourselves and our values, right? And oftentimes where we have conflicts, it's where we're incongruent between what we say we want and what our values are standing for, or potentially some past beliefs or experiences playing into this. And so, of course, we can absolutely be well served by an external mirror to help us sort through this, because sometimes, well, a lot of times, our asshole mind, as I love to call it, that RAS, typically filters in what it thinks we want to experience. So,
Yeah.
like some kind of like billions, big number of stimuli in the environment that we're in. Our RES is like, you know what? We're going to go with this thing. She knows what that is. She knows what to expect. It's familiar. It feels safe. So
Yep.
let's just give her this experience, when
Even if
in
it's a bad thing,
reality,
even
and
if it's a negative
absolutely,
thing, it's still like,
yep,
that's the safe thing because we know what it is. Yeah,
right. It's
absolutely.
it's safe and familiar. And so that's what we are often shown. And the trick to switching this is to switch the inside, right? To switch the filter setting, if you will, on the RAS, so that we can start experiencing more of the things that we actually do want, those things that feel expansive, those things that support us in creating that happy, healthy life, love, and legacy, because we're showing up authentically as ourselves. And authenticity is a huge piece of this puzzle as well, because we can't be happy while we're wearing masks, while we're trying to please other people, while
Yeah.
we're trying to keep the peace, right? While we're trying to avoid conflicts or challenges or problems. That's just part of being a human. Being your authentic self is the most powerful thing that you can do. And it's hard as hell, right? It's not
Absolutely agreed. Yeah.
easy. So I am fully recognizing in this that it's not always easy, because the threat of losing people we love exists when we step into our fully authentic self. And I'll just say too, most people aren't being like super inauthentic. Like, it's not like they're like the most
No,
disingenuous people, but there's another level, right? Those things that you're hiding away, often because maybe you were criticized in the past, maybe as a child you were told that was too much or too little or too big or too small or too whatever. So we have tucked away parts of ourselves. Ultimately, I
and a
see
lot
this.
of the time we don't know. We don't even
Yeah,
realize that we've done it. So yeah, they're not being
exactly.
inauthentic. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I also agree that like the best way to uncover those layers is that tuning inward, is that becoming really present and listening to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you get to know yourself. Because if
Yeah.
you don't even know yourself, how can you show up fully authentically? So I love that.
Yeah, and I actually have a tool to help people with that if they're not ready to go with a coach yet to do that work, but they want to start doing just a little something every day. I created a daily self-discovery journal that has
Mm.
prompts designed to help you to get to know yourself, to get a deeper understanding. And I've structured it such that at first it's kind of like, someone else asking you the questions and you're responding to, because that often feels most comfortable to people. But by the end of the 90 days, these questions are going to be you asking your inner self these questions, which is the next level of powerful, to get to know who you are and what you're really all about on a completely, fully authentic level. Now, this authentic self, like I said, it's not the old version of you was not inauthentic, but this authentic version of you is actually whole. It is the sum of all of your parts. And I'm air quotes here, good, bad, and ugly parts, right? Because they're just all parts. This is really not good, bad, or ugly, but
the perception plays into
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, perception is pretty important here, but it is about embracing the wholeness that you are, because that's actually where your magic lies, in showing up as the whole human unapologetically. Because listen, I don't care what anybody else tried to tell you. They're not perfect. And the idea of perfection is mere illusion. It is a picture painted by who the fuck knows who, the world at large.
Who started this idea?
Right?
Yeah.
It's like everyone who aspires to look like the cover model, that has a six-pack, but she actually only had a six-pack for like 3 hours because she was super dehydrated. Then they spray tanned her, and then also they photoshopped it. So we're so often aspiring to this vision of perfection that is an illusion. It doesn't actually exist. Not even for that person who you think has it all together. They don't. They're human too. And so when we can start to recognize that we're all good people doing the best that we can with the resources and understanding that we have, and that we're human, and that inevitably we're gonna make mistakes. We are going to have challenges. We are going to quote unquote fail. None of these things are actually an issue. The only issue is if you don't just take the information from that and move forward. Yeah. Because so many people take that information and they make it mean something about themselves. They beat themselves up. They pour on the guilt and the shame and the feeling bad about themselves that doesn't move the needle forward.
Yeah,
if we
absolutely.
can shift that slightly, just to say, like, what am I learning here? We are going to go fast and far, and we're going to see that life, love, and legacy that we're after, because we can't not. When we get that insides right, we can't not see it reflected absolutely everywhere.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying, because it is, the whole model on the magazine thing. It's like the stereotypical example that we use, but it is really so potent, and it's so true. Right. And anyone with a young daughter, I have one, she's 13. She's got this perception of herself. I'm like, you're a stick. You met my daughter last weekend. I'm like, you are tiny. You're beautiful. You're gorgeous. And she's like uncomfortable with her body. She feels like she's ugly. She feels like she's big. She feels like all of these things. And I'm like, excuse you. Right. But outside perspective is a different thing. But also, I love, I know that you do this also. I do this as well. We're in positions with our audiences where people look up to us. People assume a lot of the time, and I know I get this a lot, so I'm guessing that you do too. But people will be like, you've got it so together. How do you keep it all? How are you doing this? How have you mastered everything? I'm like, I haven't mastered everything. Are you kidding? I'm a freaking hot mess, man. Like, I have my strengths. I have the areas that I show up in online, because those are my strong areas. That doesn't mean that I have it all together. I have parts of my life that I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
And we all have that. And and that's what you're saying. And I know that, like, it's, we get really caught up in what we see, because of course, how do we know what's happening that we are not seeing? But I think it's really important to remember. And I remind people in my audience, especially the ones who ask me questions like that, I'm like, I am not perfect. I do not have my shit together. I am not, like all of this stuff. These are my strong areas, but let me tell you about this thing that I'm having a rough time with, and I give examples all the time, because people need to know we're all in this together. We all have our problems. So I really love that.
And we can learn to navigate life's up and downs with grace and ease, which means we don't get stuck in the muck for as long, right? Yeah. So yes, there are challenges. Yes, there are mini life crises, because humans are going to human, and life is going to life. And we are just here taking it in. One of the biggest things that I would say sets me apart from people, and probably why people think that you and I have it all together, when in fact we don't have it all together. Life is still happening to us. We're still navigating. But we accept what is as the first step.
Yeah.
We don't argue, well, it
Yeah.
should be this way. I can't
Yeah.
believe it's this way. It really should be this way. We don't do that. We just, oh, okay, well, that's happening.
Yes.
So how do I choose how to respond? And again, this comes back to, if you're not practiced at coming into the now present moment, this can be a challenge because your emotions can take over. They
Yeah.
can. They're designed to navigate you and to tell you something's off, but they're not designed for you to create a whole story around them and add all of this meaning and judgment to it. They're simply an indicator something's not quite right. And so instead of creating a story, which God love us, humans are so cute. We love to create stories.
Yep.
It makes life interesting. But if we don't do that, that's what the spiral stopper method in my book is really about, is getting away from that so that we can just look at what's there. And then,
well, and I know, like,
how do I
as
wanna
friends, you and I have had conversations where we pop in the DMs and it's like, oh my gosh, right? And when it first hits you in the moment, you're allowed to still feel shit,
of course,
right? You're allowed to still feel like this freaking sucks.
Yeah.
But you and I both, and it is absolutely a skill that people need to learn, that it takes time to master, that it took me time to master, that I'm sure it took you time to master.
Yeah.
And that is that removal of making it mean something, right? Having it just be like, yes, I have my moments where it's just like, what the hell is going on? And everything seems to be exploding. And then I'm like, okay, it just is what it is. And I bring myself back to that quickly. And that is, I know in your book, that is something that you help people to learn to achieve, right? Because it's not something that's natural. We very easily get caught up in our emotions. And
we've been so conditioned to do so because, first of
okay,
all,
so maybe it's natural and we just have to unlearn what we've our conditioning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and then we've also been taught to feel bad about being emotional, which is a whole nother level, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a sticky thing. But it's interesting how, if we were just to allow our emotions to exist, and we should, it's actually really problematic to try and stuff them down or resist our emotions as well. That actually
not gonna blow up in your face.
is known to cause chronic illness, cancer, all kinds of stuff. Stuffing anger is especially a big one for women. Because we're told, like, it's sadness is acceptable. Sadness is okay. Men can be angry, women can be sad, but not the other way around, right? And it's all this conditioning, and we're not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Oh my gosh, we could talk about that forever.
Your emotions, invite them for like a coffee date. Hear what they got to say, but don't invite them for a fucking girls' weekend out.
Right.
Like,
you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to drown in them.
Yeah.
But they should be heard and acknowledged. Absolutely. I so agree.
And expressed. And then they will much more beautifully just leave, actually.
Yeah.
And you will find yourself back to your initial state. Again, it's
much
like
faster.
Yeah. And
so,
no one's perfect at this. Sometimes it's like 2 minutes for me. And sometimes it's 2 hours. Sometimes it's the better part of a day and I just need to sleep it off.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's okay to really just dive into an emotion for a short period of time without that story and judgment, though. It's okay to feel sad. I mean, put on a sad movie, cry your fucking eyes out. Like, if that's what your body needs to release it, go for it. But don't make it mean that there's something wrong or bad about you, right? That's where we
it's more like, what you want is more like looking at it from an outside perspective. It's like, it's watching that emotion and going, that's interesting. Like, why am I observing it. Exactly. So it's there's that shift, there's that difference there from making it mean something to just observing it and allowing it to be what it is. And it plays out so much faster. It doesn't, when we don't hold on to it because we're trying to pretend it doesn't exist, it actually moves through and out of you very, very quickly.
I'm in freedom.
Yeah. So okay, so they're getting really present, they're tuning into themselves. This is helping them literally to live their most authentic self in every day so that they can be improving their relationships. They can be improving every moment of their lives, right? And of course, like, now we're talking about how this trickles out and ripples out into actually affecting your legacy. So where do you come in? What are you helping your clients with? What do people come to you for?
Well, typically what I do is I work with, I like to say, the whole ass human, right? This is why I'm covering life, love, and legacy, which is the whole ass human in their entirety. And I work with women who are ready to create healthy, loving relationships, both with themselves and with others, so that they can live in their intended state of happiness, love, peace, joy, freedom, whatever that looks like. So essentially, I help people to get unstuck in those sticky areas where we don't know what we don't know, right? So sometimes just having someone else to mirror and reflect what they're seeing from us can really help us to get the awareness required in order to change. And so helping them to figure out why there's an incongruence between where they are and where they'd like to be, where they want to be, where they aspire and dream to be, so that we can really create that life, love, and legacy for them from all angles. And like I said, I see all people as good, as worthy, as abundant, as whole, as unconditionally loved and accepted for exactly who they are, no matter what their life has entailed up until now, no matter what they're going through right now, no matter the quote unquote mistakes and failures they've made. It's my desire to open up a space where they can come and experience these aspects, these parts of themselves, so that they can see how truly loved and accepted they are, so that they can step into their highest expression of themselves. And a lot of people do a lot of different things to try and change things and get really frustrated because it's not working. Most of
Or it
that,
doesn't last.
it
Right?
doesn't, or it doesn't last,
Yeah.
or it feels too difficult. And I'm here to make that more simple for you, to give you the baby steps so that you can actually see some lasting results. And I actually started as a health coach many years ago, and has always been my approach. I've never, not one time, told someone to go balls to the wall and do like a CrossFit workout when they're starting out. So much more gentle. And I also believe that if we work with steps that feel manageable, that feel safe, that feel really doable, it's not to say you don't have a big vision.
Yeah.
But it's about setting the intention of showing up and being that person. So let's make those ways to show up and be that person who is having that experience more bite-sized, so that you can revel in your success more often,
Yes.
because we deserve to be celebrated. And those little steps are worth celebrating, because every single one of them is you being you. And every time you do that, that is worthy of celebration.
Absolutely. And I think this hits really hard, especially for my audience. A lot of women in my audience have ADHD, and we need those dopamine hits to carry us through to the next step all the time, right? And if
Wait,
you
what were we talking about? Just kidding.
So, but if you have this big mountain, I was having a conversation with someone last night, literally. I have this mountain of laundry and it's just so huge and I can't dig through. Like I'm so sick of having to dig through for the, and it's like, yeah, when it's huge, it becomes so overwhelming that we just don't start. And my suggestion is always start a timer for 5 minutes, just do 5 minutes and then you can walk away. And you almost always make it through to the end, because once you start, it's not so bad. But when you're just looking at this mountain, it's like, it's never going to happen. I can't possibly manage this. This is so huge. I could never do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not, right? And we get out of that I am, which is the more empowering statement, right? So I love this. I love that it's bite-sized pieces. That is, and I think it's not just ADHD people who need that at all, but I think that it lands really well for my audience specifically, because it's just, this is the main tool to function as an ADHD adult, is like, break it down. What's the first step? Because if you don't know, you're not going to do anything. And then you're going to feel like a failure and you're going to spiral down instead of spiraling up. So I love it.
So one of my tricks as well for just figuring out what the next thing is, because so often entrepreneurs, been there, two hands up, been this many times. I have found myself even just waking up in the morning feeling overwhelmed as fuck, right? Like the list that I have of things that I quote unquote should do in my business, in my life, in everything, is just insurmountable. And so when we have this list, first of all, what I realized one time when I was looking as the observer at my overwhelm and anxiety was that I was shitting all over myself. And listen, nobody else, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the boss here. I'm the CEO of this. No one
Yep.
else gets to shit on me. This is the
Yep.
perk of having my own thing. Yet here I was shitting all over myself, making this long list of like, oh, well, you should have this done and that done, and you need to do that. Who says? Oh,
Yeah.
me. So I can change that, right? I
Yeah.
can give myself grace.
And I say that one all the time too. Stop shooting all over yourself,
Oh, like
right?
it's
Yeah.
so easy to do.
Oh,
And even, you know, the more we can stop shooting ourselves, that's a first step. But the second piece, to know where should we actually go, the question I ask myself is, what is the most loving and nurturing thing that I can do for myself right now? Usually it's not what I fucking expect. Right.
mhm.
And it helps for sure to come into the present moment now, right? Be there and really invite in, you know, this higher version of you, and
Yeah.
ask, what would the most loving and nurturing thing that I can do for myself be right now? And then go do it, right?
Right.
And
Yes.
okay, sometimes spirit gives you something that you don't actually have time for because kids and laundry and school runs and all the things. Schedule that shit in for the soonest possibility. If you
Yeah.
can't do it right now, that's
Yeah.
fine. Or maybe there's a way that you can figure out how to do a little bite-sized snippet of that thing. Like, not
Yeah.
every meditation has to be an hour long.
That's right.
I
Absolutely.
have
And you have,
5-minute quickie
yes,
meditations
you
that are
do.
super
And they're
fun.
awesome. Yeah.
We can share those too.
Yeah.
But not everything has to be such the full big deal. So sometimes just asking yourself, like, what is the loving thing that I can do for myself? And if it seems like that's still too much, you can go deeper. What is the first piece of this? What can I do in this time window that I have right now? And yes,
Yeah.
sometimes it might be just tackle 5 minutes of that laundry. That might be really loving, because maybe that is actually blocking you from creative thinking because you can't stop
Oh
thinking
my
about
gosh.
the
I can't
laundry
have a
mountain.
mess around me. I can't.
Right?
If I have a mess around me, I'm like, I can't focus. I can't be creative. I can't, like, I struggle so hard with that. For me, I'm very visually stimulated. So
Yeah.
if I have a mess, and this is why, like, anyone in my world knows I talk about minimalism and simplifying and all of these things a lot, because I'm like,
Yep.
the less I have, the less overwhelmed I get. And also it's really hard to have a laundry mountain when you don't own a mountain of laundry. So
Right.
so
And the
you know,
same
like, that was
goes,
my solution. That was my path. But
yeah, and the same goes for scheduling. Like,
yeah,
if you have multiple kids, like so many people out there trying to keep up with everyone else, and they have their kids in hockey 5 times a week and piano lessons, and then there's a practice every day, and then they're in art lessons, and then they're in whatever else they're in. And you, as the mom, are now a full-time chauffeur. But you don't have to make those choices. And I guarantee your kids will turn out all right if they don't have the highest
yeah.
competitive level in everything.
And
Let them
actually,
follow what they
that is
want
like
to
the
do.
number one way to stress out our kids and get them depressed and self-hating, because they're having to keep up to these insanely high expectations. And it's so common these days because everybody is in this fast-paced, high-achieving mode, but it's actually really unhealthy for them. It's great, I think, to have one thing to excel at, but to have multiple and to be running all around like crazy. And then, yeah, like you said, when you have more than one kid and you're running around to multiple things for each kid, you don't have any extra time.
No.
And you literally don't have any extra time. And it's like, I need to actually fucking breathe, please. Like,
Not only that, but I'll tell you what, these kids that are in 1,000 things, they grow up with an inability to handle being bored or being by themselves without stimulation. Yep. And
that's when you can't get present, and then you're not hearing your inner voice and literally everything you're talking about.
A major problem, right? And I think that's probably part of what could be contributing to a lot of the adult ADHD. We can't focus unless we have stimulation.
Absolutely.
And not only people who have been diagnosed, but people who suffer from those symptoms, right?
Yeah.
I think it's on a spectrum. And so
absolutely.
I will literally, I could look down the list of common ADHD symptoms, and I certainly can see myself in quite a few.
Yeah.
I'm not diagnosed. I don't know, but we often have these. And I read a really interesting book called Stolen Focus about this, about how social media is grabbing us, and we can't focus.
Yeah.
Because we're so needing the dopamine hits all the time. And so really,
It's an addiction, actually. Yeah.
it is an addiction. And the solution to that addiction problem is this getting present, being able to sit with yourself, being able to be quiet and alone with yourself without feeling lonely or like
Yeah.
there's a million things that you should be doing. It's okay to rest, and beyond okay, it's necessary.
Yeah. It's not actually optional. And when we
to
make
build
it
it in.
optional, our life is going to fail. It's going and fail in a way like crash and fucking burn. Right.
Yeah, burn out.
And the, I'm sure that this is something that you help your clients do and your audience members do and all of that. But one thing that I always like to say when it comes to this getting quiet, coming back to calm, you know, all of that is it is a practice and it's something that you get better at with time. So even if you can get yourself to a state of complete calm for 1 minute to start
1 second,
with,
even
1 second, yeah, exactly. Like you just need to feel it for a moment, and then you'll be able to grow that seed, and it will get bigger and it will get easier. And it's so important. It is everything, really. So, okay. So all of this said,
Yeah.
what is the best way for women listening to this podcast episode to get in contact with you and get into your world, get to know you, and then maybe even work with you directly?
Yeah, so I have all kinds of information on my website at coachchristyholt.com, from freebies and courses and one-to-one mentorship packages. And truth be told, if you think that we're a fit to work together, but you don't see something that fits what you need on there, like, let's have a conversation, because I am all about meeting that whole human right where you are at and tailor creating a plan to move you to where you want to go. So ultimately, you can find me there. And on social media, come hang out with me on Facebook. That is where I love to hang out the most. There's just something about the way that we can interact on Facebook that feels more community driven than some of the other platforms.
Agree.
So come hang out with me there. I'll give you the link for the Facebook as well. And yeah, I have so many super fun ways to enter my world with my books and through my podcast, obviously. I'm dropping all kinds of juicy nuggets on relationships all season on my podcast. This season is all about relationships. They all have been.
I love it.
But this one is really about interpersonal romantic relationships. But spoiler alert, between you and me and all the listeners, it's about the relationship that you have with yourself, because that's the only one that you can change. And so by changing that, by focusing on showing up authentically as yourself, by living as much as possible in your intended state of happiness, that is how you will actually create a ripple effect of change in those external relationships. Some of them may not be a fit for you, and that's okay, right? That has to be something that we have to get okay with. For me, leaving my marriage was the hardest and best decision for me, because once I started to build this loving relationship with myself, I realized it was not working. It was not a fit. And I couldn't stay there anymore. Most importantly, I couldn't stay there
and honor yourself. Right.
I couldn't honor myself, but also I wasn't honoring my kids. I thought I was protecting them by keeping the family together. And until I came to the realization, again, we don't know. And new awareness shifts every fucking thing. But I realized that this is the kind of, what I was having with my ex was the kind of relationship I was modeling as normal for my kids. And I realized that's not the one. That's not the one. I was people pleasing. I was anxious. I was overwhelmed. We were unhappy. I was walking on eggshells and trying to manage moods and all of these things. And I was like, oh my God, this is not it.
And they really do. They watch what we do. They don't listen to a fucking word we say.
No, they don't.
But they watch what we do. They watch it and they notice it and they understand it so much more deeply than we think they do, even when they're really young. So I 100% agree. And I had that same process that I had to go through myself with leaving my husband. So I
want to wrap that up with a nice bow, because I found the most incredible relationship after I chose myself. I saved myself. I was my own knight in shining armor. And I started by building a loving relationship with myself.
And I can attest to this. I met her partner on Saturday last week, and they just have this whole vibe. So
it's just, it gets awesome to be easy, right? Yes. Because if it's easy, if you're solid and at ease with yourself on the inside, it will be easy on the outside too, right? Because you have this intentionality, and that's what makes an amazing relationship, is the intention to make it a great relationship. Whatever parameters that looks like for you, right? Because
And
everyone's
if you're
going to be
happy in and of yourself and they're happy in and of themselves, you can create this really beautiful thing.
magic.
And I haven't yet found that, but I know you have, because I've seen it and it's pretty friggin' awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
I just love this. I love it so much. So anyone who is ready to take the radical responsibility route, I think that's really the thing. If you're ready to actually look at yourself, because it always starts with ourselves. If you're there, you need to get in contact with Christy. She has mentioned several of the ways, and I know she has several other ways that you can work with her. And like she said, she will work with you to find a plan that works with you.
Yeah.
She is an incredible human being.
Thank you.
She is, I'm so grateful to be friends with her. And I highly recommend, if you are ready to take this step, that you go talk to Christy. And she literally has something at every level. So no matter where you are financially, no matter where you are, time wise, like we've been talking about, busy as fuck lives, like go talk to Christy, go get to know her. She's a whole ass genuine human being and just a great person to know. So even if you don't need to work with her, go get to know her, because
yay, new friends.
Yeah. Like, come on. So, yeah, I am super excited about all of this. I'm so excited to share this with my listeners. I will be linking the shit out of all your stuff in the comment in the show notes, because we've got so much to list. Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to share today, or have we sort of covered everything that we wanted to talk on today? And
no, I'll wrap up with one thought, just to add some clarity, because a lot of people think that it's about becoming someone else, that's stepping into their highest version of self is about becoming someone else. And I don't see it that way at all. It is actually about being your whole self now. And so that is a bit of a perspective shift, hopefully a tiny tweak in your awareness that allows you just to accept who you are. That's honestly the starting point to change, and just start being the person who is happy, free, at peace, loving, kind, all of the things that you desire to experience in your life, and the things that you hope to receive back from other people. Start being that, right? Be the person who is ready to receive that.
And we both, I think, acknowledge that that is actually probably the hardest step of this process, to have that self-acceptance. So start by being present. Like Christy was saying, that is really, really key. And if you do not know how to do that, get her book, because it will get you started so, so powerfully. And when you're ready to accept yourself and look at yourself and all of that, she is an incredible mentor and coach to work with, and I highly recommend. So thank you so much for coming and talking to me today, Christy. This was so fun. And, I know that you and I are going to continue seeing more of each other. We got obsessed with our year of hanging out locally. Absolutely. So we are, this isn't the end, but thank you for spending time with me today and sharing your wisdom with us today. And just thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and I was just going to add too, if you love this conversation, I'm really excited to share that my next book is coming out this fall. So Love Unstuck is slated to come out fall 2024. And it is going to just explore more deeply all of the concepts that we've spoken about today. So invitation to get on the wait list if it's not out yet, or check my website, because the details will all be there.
So exciting. I can't wait to read that one too. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Christy. And for everyone listening, I will talk to you all next time.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe to be notified of new episodes. If you really love it here and want to help spread the light, please take a moment to rate the show and leave a review. They help so much. If you love listening and want to be part of the interactive and incredible online community we're growing, make sure you click the link in the description box and join the Facebook group. I promise you it is not like other groups you've been in. Hope to meet you there soon, and I'll be talking to you next week. Sending you all my love from my heartbeat to yours.